bringing us to today's Wealth Talks on your Inspiration Station. Our December holidays are around the corner, and as much as we'd like to go into a spending frenzy and just, blow the money and wrap up the year in style, it's important to remember not to break the bank this festive season. On this edition of Wealth Talks, we look at how to start planning now for the holidays so that you remain money-wise going into the new year. Our guest this afternoon, Kay-Leigh De Sousa, is a young mom who knows all about taking the right money decisions to ensure that holidays don't leave her family broke. Good afternoon to you, Kay-Leigh, and thank you so much for joining us on 99 FM.
Hi, Treza. Thank you so much for having me.
It is a huge pleasure to have you. Please share with us your money story. What were the money lessons you learned as a child, and how do they still show up in your life today?
So actually, I've had to unlearn some lessons, surprisingly.
Okay, tell us that story.
We grew up very much kind of hand to mouth, where even though I think there was enough money, really, the spending habits were not wise. So by the time the last week or 10 days of the month would roll around, we were scratching in the back of the cupboard, trying to figure out what creative solution we could make.
Yeah.
But honestly, at the beginning of the month, we were living like kings.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a roller coaster. And it taught me two things. One, on the one hand, a positive thing is that I didn't allow my amount of money in the bank account to influence my emotional state.
Yes.
So if I've got money, great. If I don't have money, that's
also okay, yeah.
But on the other hand, I also made some pretty bad decisions early on because of that. I didn't understand the value of what or the impact of what I was doing.
Yeah.
So one year I had a department store credit card.
Okay. What happened?
And my husband's got a real big family. So I decided I'm going to the shop. I'm going to go buy Christmas presents for all the in cases that might arrive.
Okay.
And I spent so much money. I maxed out that card.
Sure.
And it took me the entire next year to pay it back.
Wow.
And that was, I think it was sometime around March that year that I actually cut that card in half and decided.
You cut it in half? Like literally cut it in half?
And I shut the account, and I still obviously had to pay it and all the interest that came with it.
Yeah.
But I just decided that is a bad way to buy Christmas presents.
I'm sure you learned your lesson from that.
Yes.
It's almost that time of the year again. The holidays are around the corner. What are your family's go-to holiday plans for this December?
So we actually tend to not leave.
Okay.
There's this mass exodus out of Windhoek.
People leave,
Around the 30th of November, you can kind of see there's like a and suddenly
becomes a ghost town of sorts.
Absolutely. You can flick-flack down the streets and you'll be just fine.
Yeah.
And I think because my husband grew up here, he is a little bit wary about rushing off to the coast because there's such...
Yeah, traffic is crazy. It's packed.
You can't even buy bread. You can't draw money. So we've tended to stay in Windhoek, and it is hot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But I've been in Oshakati in August. So if you can survive Oshakati in August, you can survive Windhoek in December.
In December as well.
And often what we would do, everyone's traveled, and we would house sit for people, before we had kids. We'd often house sit, and they might have a pool, they might have a fruit tree, and we get to eat mulberries because they're just like right around Christmas. They're just coming together, or figs or something like that, and you just get to feel like you're not in your own house. So that tends to be what we used to do. Now with kids, it's more about being at home, being together, and finding creative and fun experiences that we can do together.
I love that. What about the kiddies? I mean, kiddies, when it comes to Christmas presents, they want what they want. So how do you go about, buying Christmas gifts that doesn't break your bank, that doesn't, put a dent in your bank account? How do you go about buying them gifts that they would love, but still saving a couple of bucks at the same time?
So I hope my kids aren't listening, but I've already started.
Okay.
So I know it's a little bit of a cliche to say buy your Christmas presents early, but honestly, if you find that cute little pen, I've got girls, so it's a cute little glitter pen, or it's like a little purse or something like that I know they would love, I buy it. And I put it in my cupboard, in a bag, and
hide it away.
Part of it is just having these little things to open. It almost doesn't matter what it
is, exactly,
And my kids are luckily not too fixed on what they want for Christmas. They just want a whole lot of presents.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're a big family. So I know if I'm buying my kids a couple of presents, every other member of the family is also going to be buying them presents. The only grandkids so far. And so they end up with so many presents at the end of the day. So I would say buy early, and also buy things that they need. You know, if they need a new pair of trainers, then make it a Christmas present.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or a pair of sunglasses with glitter on it. You never know.
Exactly. Or a unicorn headband.
Yes. Exactly. You actually answered this next question already. You don't travel in December. You stay home with the family, to spend time home with the family. But how does it affect your finances, staying home? Do you still spend more when you're here in Windhoek, when you're home? Or how does it affect your finances?
That is a good question.
Yeah.
So what we end up doing is we'll often have the big Christmas. And then we'll also have, because there are some other people in the ghost town, we'll also have the big New Year's party.
I love that.
So we often have a couple of friends over for a braai on New Year's Eve, and you know, these things can get expensive. It's different from traveling, but it can get expensive. And I think the way to manage it is that everybody is able to contribute. So if it's the family coming together for Christmas lunch, then everyone is bringing something.
Yeah,
you know?
It makes it easier.
Yes,
yeah.
And then not all the cooking ends up on whoever is hosting.
Do you often host these parties?
So I'm hoping to host this year if my mother-in-law will agree to it.
Yeah.
But she's normally the one that hosts, and she was a caterer. So
she knows what she's doing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
The table is beautiful, the lights are beautiful, and the food is
amazing.
Yeah. So I'm not going to try and compete, but she can come do it at my house.
Kay-Leigh, finally, Kay-Leigh, what are the biggest priorities for you when planning financially for your family during what are the biggest priorities, the things that come first when planning family time during the holiday?
So like I told you, I ended up with all this debt, and I am just not going to do that again.
Yeah.
So a holiday, whether it's a Christmas holiday or some other holiday, because we tend to travel other times during the year if we can, but you cannot come out of that experience with debt. So if you're able to pre-plan and think ahead, and before you start spending your monthly salary, to already put away that money and know that if you get to the end of the month and, for example, the tomato sauce is finished, you can go a couple of days without tomato sauce.
Yeah.
You can wait until payday. And so if that money is out of your account, then it's safe, you know, and then you can start putting that money together and looking for specials for whatever it is. My mother-in-law likes to buy her turkey in November.
Okay.
Because it's always much cheaper. So, you know, doing those kinds of things, and then understanding that there's only so much that you actually need.
Yeah.
And you don't need to go excessive.
Exactly.
So, you know, a little toy here for the kids or a little sweetie there is often enough. And then the thing that matters is the memories that you're making. So make sure you have a good camera.
Exactly.
Take photos. You know, that's the important part.
If I may ask before we let you go, Kay-Leigh, how old are your daughters?
So they are 8 and 5.
Okay, so still pretty young. So are you prepared for when they get older, when they're 16 and when they want the latest iPhone, the latest iPad? Are you prepared for that?
I don't know. I'll be honest, my 8-year-old acts like she's 16 already. So she is hoping for a watch that is able to phone.
Okay, so like the iWatches, those iPhone watches.
We're not quite in the iPhone ecosystem, so it's some kind of Android thing that a friend of hers has that is programmed with 2 or 3 numbers, and she can then call those numbers.
Okay.
And she's very responsible about it. She wants to have her mom's number and her dad's number, and she wants to be able to call in case of emergencies. But I can see that juggle is already starting to happen, where she is coming with quite expensive requests, and we're having to negotiate about it.
I like that. Yeah. Kay-Leigh, thank you so much for coming to share with us your money story and just, you know, how you enjoy the holidays with your family. Thank you so much for making time to come talk to us.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
It's a pleasure to have you. That's Kay-Leigh De Sousa in the building on Wild Talks for this afternoon. We're talking about financial preparations for your family holiday, and obviously we all want to have fun December and we all want to have nice gifts, but also thinking about what it's going to do to your pocket, to your bank account is also very important. So if you missed out on this interview,